Welcome back, everyone, to Catching You. I'm your co-host, Rusty Ham. With me is my other beautiful co-host and my daughter, Lacie. Lacie, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
You are still home with us during the summer, right?
Yep. Like 2
How
more
many more
weeks
weeks you
left
have?
until I go back but then I start school the 21st. So just got to get settled in San Jose first and then start school.
There you go. It looks like your room is cleaned up like we asked you to.
As always.
21 years old and we're still asking you to clean up your room.
I do a better job in my apartment.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
There you
But
go. Anyway, so you're embarking on your senior year, right? Are
yeah.
you excited? How are you feeling going into your senior year?
I'm trying not to think about it too much
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of things to think about. Like I'm still a part of our student athlete leadership. I'm taking 6 classes in the fall.
Oh
I'm
wow.
doing I'm still doing pitching lessons every week. So I'm going to start that back up again. And then I have to start applying for master's programs, and then I have to apply for graduation. So, and then I still have
Wait,
softball.
tell me, you have to apply to graduate? Are you talking about grad assistant?
No, well, yeah, both. The grad assistant, you have to apply. You have to apply to the master's program, but then with graduation, you have to apply and get accepted to graduate because you don't automatically get a diploma because you have to apply and make sure the hello. You still there? Okay. Look like you froze. You have to apply to the college. So for me, my college is social science. I have to apply to the College of Social Science for graduation to make sure that I have all my credits that I'm able to graduate.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but I got it. I got some of it.
yeah. And then I have softball
Yeah,
in the
but
spring.
yep. Hopefully, yeah, we'll get out there for it. What is good about your senior year and your schedule is you're going to be down our way a few times, right? You're going to be at hopefully the Mary Nutter, right? And then you'll be down in San Diego. You're going to be in Las Vegas. So that's just a short trip for us, which is cool. So we're looking forward to your senior year because we'll be able to see you a lot. Very
Yep.
cool. Um, and then with you embarking on a senior year, I'm kind of getting teary eyed because it's kind of the end of our journey as me catching you, literally catching your bullpens, right? So we have a couple more entering into your senior year, and then when you come back for winter break, I'll probably catch you a couple more times, and that will be it.
And that's the
And
end of it.
it's
Well,
and that's
because
the end of it. Because
yeah,
go ahead.
winter break because winter break is going into January, which is, I mean, pretty much prime time before you start season. So usually colleges go back either like the first or second week of January to start double days, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's one practice in the morning, one practice in the afternoon. And so, I mean, kind of like a regular travel ball Saturday 6-hour practice, but imagine that 7 days a week for a month. So it gets pretty hectic. But I mean, for our winter break, it's probably 3 or 4 weeks that we go home from school to go home for the holidays. And you're away from your coaches, you're away from your team, you're away from all your equipment that you've been using all fall. So that's pretty much the time that you have to, on your own, keep going what you developed in the fall and come back in January, like still ready to go and like go into season. So that's where a lot of people get, I think, tripped up because they're like, oh, I don't have time to do this or this, but like you have to make time. Like the only days that should be probably off are like the 3 days surrounding Christmas and maybe New Year's. But really, all of that winter break, you have to be doing something every single day because you can't lose what you did in the fall. So,
Yeah, because you're not just practicing in the fall, you're also playing, right? You've played, I don't know, you probably have maybe a 15 game schedule that they
yeah,
probably run, right?
yeah, like
So
October.
yeah, and you're working on different things. Unfortunately, last year you had an inflamed shoulder,
Mm,
scapula, right? So you couldn't, you only pitched maybe three
one
innings.
day.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was tough, right? Because you're trying to work on things. We worked on things all summer last year, right? We were working on staying back and staying tall and, not leaning forward. And then all of a
Mm,
sudden you get hurt and it's like, well, I can't, like we talked about it in other episodes, right? Where you took a step forwards and then you took a step back, right? You take a step forwards and you're taking a step back. And of, that's part of the game, right?
and life, yeah.
That's
But
part of life.
what I realize is that because I could not with inflammation, it's really hard, especially when I would try to pitch. Like I would go 2 pitches in and I like it felt like something was stabbing me in the shoulder. And I had to or I was required to take a month off of pitching. I took a month off when I had a skull fracture.
Right.
So you could just imagine the pain that I was in, which is kind of crazy to think about. Is like I didn't feel like I felt like I could pitch, but then again, like I physically could not without being in so much pain.
Right.
So it's weird to compare a skull fracture and inflammation,
Inflammation.
and I took the same amount of time off, which is weird.
Right.
But it's crazy how injuries work, and yeah, it was definitely hard to work all summer and go into August like extremely confident, and then right when mid September hit, I was like, I cannot, I cannot do this. So, but
Yeah,
came.
and you remember that, this kind of a funny story. We go to the mountains every year, sometimes up in the snow during winter break, and we happened to where we were staying. There was a underground garage,
Oh yeah,
and I think this is when you were on Campbell's team, right? And
it had to be because I
yeah,
had to pitch.
yeah. So we're in this under garage, and she's pitching to me in this garage, and
Well,
and
you took a funny picture of me, and
yeah,
I think we brought the pitching mat,
yeah,
and I'm wearing I'm wearing a beanie.
yeah,
I think I'm wearing like Under Armour sleeves plus a long sleeve,
yeah.
leggings, and 2 pairs of thick socks, and then my pitching shoes. And I looked ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But then it was like I think it was good because it was so cold that I like had to push through it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, had
I,
to get the reps in.
I mean, I don't know how productive it was, but I mean, still pitched.
Yeah, you had to
I
do
mean,
it.
well, remember I was doing my workouts and I I think this past year we had some of my friends come with us, and there was like an upstairs loft, and
Yeah.
we didn't have gym access, so I asked my trainer for like body weight workouts, and some of it was like burpees. So I'm upstairs and you just hear
Thump,
like
thump,
thump thump
thump.
on the upstairs because I'm doing burpees and the elevation is terrible, so I'm just out of breath after like 5. So,
Yeah. So if you're
but
listening and you're in college, or even if you're high school, I mean, you did it in high school, but there's no time off, right? Like, I used to coach high school basketball, and I had zero time off, right? Like you said, I had, Thanksgiving Day, maybe. I had Thanksgiving Day, and the next day we were practicing. Christmas, we would practice up until Wednesday, and then Christmas is on Thursday. I'd give him Friday off, and then we would play on Saturday. So it's the same thing with softball. Even though softball is a spring sport, you're not taking time off. And
Yeah.
so, for you, it's going to be weird. And I was going to talk about this. Um, we've interviewed a few, pro softball players. We've interviewed, um, Delaney Spalding, and their senior year. We ask everyone, how was your senior year? Because their senior year, some are super excited that it's going to be over, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
maybe they had a bad experience, and some were they wanted it to continue because they were having so much fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of in that mode, right? You're in that mode, which is I didn't play well last year. Our team didn't do well last year. I want to go into my senior and have fun. And maybe midway through the season, you might you might change your you might change your tune. Hopefully not, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be a mental portion of your game where it's like, okay, if I'm not having fun my senior year, how does it end? Right? Have
How
you
do,
thought
yeah.
about that at all?
I mean, really, it's all gonna be up to how I go into it. Like if I let everything around me dictate how I'm gonna like end my senior year, then I'm probably not gonna have the best I mean, I don't know yet. I mean, I'm going in with senior year, new pitching coach. And so I mean, but we're having all the same girls come back, so which is nice. Like I love my pitching unit, as we call it. Um, all those girls are coming back. I really love all of them. So, I mean, it's going to be different, but I'm going in with a good mindset. So that's kind of how, yeah, I think it's just all how you approach it. Because if you go in and be like, oh, I'm so stressed, like, how's this going to go? I don't know. This new coach. I mean, how are we going to do in conference? Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's those months away. Obviously, it's going to go by fast because it usually does. Like, I feel like yesterday was when I moved into CV2 in San Jose and had all my softball girls on the same floor right next to me. But, it, and I mean, it's all about how you look at it.
Yeah,
Because if I look at it and be like, "Oh my gosh, it's my last year ever playing softball. I don't know what I'm gonna do." Like I'm not gonna enjoy the present moment. Like
right,
all the great things that I've experienced, such as like going to football games with my teammates. Like there's so much stuff goes on there, and then we have, I mean, Halloween as a team. We have like, what is it? I mean, we have Christmas parties together. Like my student athlete leadership, we have all these events that we host. And then, I mean, just going into double days when no one else is on campus except the softball team and like maybe a few other spring sports. Like it's just like it's so fun. And like
right,
having lunch with my teammates, like those are the things that I'm gonna like take away.
right. Yeah, and,
So,
and there's three things going in your senior year, right? You're healthy,
mm,
right? No one transferred, so you don't have that drama of, oh, why did someone leave? And like everyone stayed. Like you don't hear that these days, that you have a full team that stays. And you have a new pitching coach, and she seems to be, for now, she sounds really good. She's super young. I think she's going to be energetic, and she's going to bring in, a lot of things that the other one didn't, and hopefully that propels you to have a very successful season. Um, Very cool. So let's we get fan mail. So if you guys don't know, if you go in the show notes, we have a link that where you can leave us a message, right? So we had somebody from New Jersey. You got to say it like that because we're
that
from
was really good.
California.
That
New
was really good.
Jersey, was
Yeah.
it?
No. No.
It was not good.
Oh,
So, and so a couple things that he said in there, which kind of made me chuckle a little bit. He has a daughter going into 14U, starting in the fall, and he's contemplating. She's batting right, but he's contemplating switching her over to the left side to do slapping. So, to my personal opinion, and this guy's name is he's Josh from North Caldwell, New Jersey. Um, as a father, I would commit to one, and I
So
think
he said she's going into 14 years.
14U, yeah,
Means
14U. It's a big transition, right? From 12 to 14, you know that because of the distance, you're going from 40 to 43, right?
yes.
Yes. Yes. And, the daughter, bats right, but he's been doing some slapping. So it if you feel, and this is my personal opinion, if you feel like she should be a slapper and you think that is the road to success for a later date, then you got to commit. You can't be wishy-washy like, oh, she struck out 4 times in a game on the left side, so we're going to switch her back to the right side. No, we had that happen. Lace, remember Tatiana?
Hmm.
She was right-handed when she first started with you in 10U. Chris was working with her and slapping. She went 0-2, and this is a funny story. She went 0-2 in a game, and Chris at third base said, "Switch it around, switch 0-2 as a slapper." And then she switched. He switched her around to the right side, and what did she do?
She hit like a triple or something.
No, she hit a home run over the fence.
Oh,
It was the craziest thing because she's been working at slapping this whole time, and then he just at 0-2 count, he just said, "Hey, go to the right side,"
but
and
like,
she hit a bomb.
yeah, but now she's a slapper at University of Iowa. Like,
Yeah, and playing for the
probably
Puerto
like,
Rican team.
yeah,
Yeah,
Puerto Rican national team. Like, but she also the Josh's daughter, who we're
uh-huh.
talking about.
Right.
She has to love slapping because I feel like slapping is like it's not niche, but it's very particular, and there's certain skills that you have to have. Like, I mean, this is from an outside perspective of like when I watch college teams, is like they're always out of the box. Um, what is it? They're, yeah, always out of the box, or something always happens, like, or they hit it too hard and they're always getting out. Like, it's the bouncing or the bunting. Like, there's very particular skills that slappers need to have. Speed, like she needs to be fast enough. But if you think she's fast enough, then I'd say go for it. And she can also always work on speed too. You can get faster, but if
Yeah,
she
because he says that he has a hitting coach working on writing and also slapping over the last 6 to 9 months. Which, if you're a hitting coach, I don't I disagree with that. And I
after 6 to 9 months, I feel like you should know whether
would say,
which side is like stick.
yeah, and he says that she's undersized. So I mean, there are some undersized girls that can hit for power, but typically, if you're undersized, you know, you're typically on the left side slapping typically.
And
And
yeah,
then go ahead.
well, yeah, you see, I mean, there's different sizes of slappers. Like, there's even power slappers. I mean, Tatiana, who we were talking about, she's taller and strong, so she does a really good job of power slapping as well, rather than like just bouncing the ball or bunting. So she's pretty strong hitter as well. But then there's others that aren't as strong and use the bouncing and the bunts to their advantage. So it just depends on. I mean, she could have a growth spurt. Who knows? And
True.
be tall. So
Right. And then another thing he kind of touched on was mindset, right? And his concern was failure, right? Baseball and softball. If you're hitting 300, you're actually considered a successful hitter, right? Um, which is weird because you're failing 7 out of 10 times, and so that uh, for future, like for you, you didn't have a very good year last year. You failed, I would say, more than you were successful. Mindset wise, how do you deal with something like that? I mean, you're older now, right? You're
Yeah.
21, and you've gone through the ups and downs. We talk about the ups and downs and everything in between. You know, talk to her, talk to Josh's daughter on how failure, is actually good for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm gonna say this, I still don't have it all figured out because I hate failing. Like,
No.
oh, you didn't know that? Like, there's always thing, and it's so weird because there's always random things where if I don't get it right on the first try or maybe even the second try, like someone explains it to me and I'm like, all right, like that sounds fine. I could do that. And I can't do it. I'm like, why? Why can't I do it? Why am I failing? Like, this is not who I am. But we've talked about being a perfectionist before.
Correct.
Um, like, I'm going to use like CrossFit as an example because I've been doing that more over the summer and learning all these new things that I've never learned before. Like, I didn't even know um, toes to bar was a thing. Like, have you heard of that?
No, and I'm in the same gym that you were going to, and I don't know what that
No.
means.
So we're doing these toes to bar, and you basically have to swing yourself up and bring your legs up and touch your toes to the pull-up bar, right?
Sounds hard.
Right. And so I think this was like maybe the second or third week that I was going, and I like the first time we did it could not do it to save my life. And I was like, my legs are just so heavy that how am I supposed to swing them all the way up there and touch my toes? But then we started doing it, made like I'd say like the next 2 weeks there were two other workouts that had that involved, and like slowly I learned the technique and it was so much easier than I like made it out to be. And but there's just little details that I wasn't paying attention to. So, but then like I got to be successful in the toast to bar finally and got to do the workout pretty well and smoothly. But I'd say with failure, fa- I don't know. I think probably my sports psychologist told me this, but failure is more of a learning experience. Like if you look at failure as a negative thing, then you're always going to look at it as a negative thing. But if you look at failure as something like that you take that experience and you learn from it and you're like, "Okay, I did this and it did not work. So let's try something else that will have a different success rate."
Yep.
So if you look at failure in such a negative light, then you're always going to be like, well, I just fail all the time. I'm not going to get any better. But if you take it as a learning experience, then there's a more positive light to it and you're going to have a more positive mindset going into, say, just like softball in general, like he was talking about. Like he's worried about the mindset and the failure part of the sport. I mean, if she loves softball, then like she chose that route. That's the it's I mean, I chose that route and I you can't really look back once you go forward with it because it is a game of failure and there's nothing you can change about that. But there's something really cool about failure, but you kind of have to look at it in that way. You can't look at it as
Yeah,
something that's
yeah,
negative.
you got to be patient, right? So going back to the CrossFit, you in order to succeed, you had to fail.
Yeah.
And I think that's the overall theme. Was like, did uh, Michael Jordan, LeBron, all these guys, they failed multiple times to be who they are, right? I think Arnold Schwarzenegger has a book out, and he says, you know, how do you deal with the 9,000 times you fail? And he goes, well, I now know 9,000 ways not to do that again, right? So he grew every time he failed. Good stuff. And then the last thing he talked about was him, this is going to refer to me, him putting pressure on her because he sees the potential, and I'm gonna put that in air quotes because everyone has potential, right? Um, so speaking, and I've talked about my story with you and how I had a revelation actually during this podcast where I was putting pressure on you because you were in a certain organization, a very sought out organization. You were on the top team within this organization, and I wanted you to succeed, because if you fail, then it looked bad on me, right? As a father, you failing, I felt like was going to be a reflection of who I was, and so I was putting pressure on you to succeed. So when you were doing your bullpens, I didn't treat you very well. I ignored you. I gave you the cold shoulder when you had a bad bullpen, and you're like 10, 11, 12 years old, and you're like, why are you doing this? You're my father. You're supposed to support me. And, we had a good breakthrough moment where I backed off. I was supportive, and then you grew exponentially after that, I believe. And that was because you came forward, right? It wasn't anything I did. You came and said, hey, you need to stop this because it's not good for a relationship. You didn't say that because you're only 11 or 12,
I
but
wouldn't know how to word that.
you might have, when you're, 3 years old, you're saying the word Winchester. So we're just like, anyway. So Josh, yes, I get it. You want her to succeed. You don't want her to fail. So you're going to put pressure on her, which I think it's okay to put pressure on her, but you also need to combine it with understanding and understanding how they feel about at the time, and not pressure them as much, right? Give them that 24 hours, right? To
There's a fine line.
Yeah.
Of,
So I'm not saying kumbaya, right? We've talked about this whole, many, many times. It's not kumbaya. Oh, Lacie, how are you feeling? I didn't mean to, it wasn't anything like that. I'm gonna put pressure on you, right? Because I do want to see you succeed, and you chose softball. You got really good at it. You're self-determined, right? You want to succeed yourself. So I was pushing you, and at the time I was pushing you probably too hard, but there's a fine line, like you said. I can still push you, and then we can have a civil conversation afterwards. Hey, how did that pitching session go? Or, maybe we should work on this next time. Or, I can say, hey, that bullpen was horrible, and you probably agree with me. But we can have a nice civil conversation afterwards, right?
yeah.
So I'm gonna miss those conversations, right? We talked about this is we're heading towards the end of catching you, not the podcast, but me catching you literally. And it came from a poem that I wrote. I love catching you, and catching you is gonna change, right? After you're done with your season, I'm gonna love catching you being a grad student. I'm gonna love catching you, you know, maybe having a relationship, maybe catching you, having kids someday. I'm gonna love you, catching you, So it's a figurative thing, right? So I'm getting a little emotional talking about it, but I'm looking forward to it. Just to let you know.
I'm looking forward to it too. I mean, with going into my masters, it's very similar environment that I would be like right now, just not on the field. But I mean, our bullpens right now, I feel like it's like, well, we take our little speaker out.
Yes,
It's either you or me playing today's top hits, or I
Lincoln
have
Park.
Linkin Park, or I have like some country music that I play. And it's pretty much silent during our bullpens, unless I I ask for feedback sometimes, and you're like, I say, so did that rise ball spin enough? And you said, well, I don't know because I was just trying to catch the ball, which is the most common response.
Yeah,
But
that's not helping. You're like last night, we were indoors, and you threw one right at my face, and I almost, because my eyesight is not, if people, I'm 55, guys, if you didn't know, my eyesight's not the best, and she threw it she didn't. I mean, she pitched it, and it was coming right
It
to
was
my
like a
face,
little, it was a high fastball, but
and I almost fell over on the bucket because I couldn't see it.
and then like five
Well,
pitches later, I hit him with a curveball,
oh, right on my foot. Yeah, that's great.
But
But so I always tease you. I hate catching you, but I love it. Right? I love. And it won't be the last time I do we might do like when you're older. Hey, let's do a little quick bullpen. Just maybe just to joke around. But no, but I'm gonna enjoy catching you moving on with the next chapter of your life. Right, this chapter is about to end. We have a couple more pages, meaning your senior year. You're doing great in school. That's not an issue. You're gonna hopefully come out of college debt free, which is the goal, right? Which is huge. Um, and so I'm just looking forward to it. It's gonna be great.
fun.
Gonna be fun.
It's weird too because it's gonna be like, well, this is the summer, and then next summer, basically, like, because every time I go home for the summer, I'm like, all right, where am I gonna work out? What do I need to work on for pitching? I need to go to pitching lessons, all this stuff, and like that's all gonna be gone. Like I don't have to worry. Like I can work out for myself. I can go. We can go long toss just cause.
Just for the heck of it, right?
Just for the heck of it, and that's so weird. That's really weird.
Yeah. So if you're young, right? If you're a young softball player now, and these are things that you're gonna have to navigate as you go through college and once you get to the end, right? So these are things you got to think about,
Yeah,
right?
I think I talked to you guys more about, I'm like, am I gonna be a CrossFit strength girl or am I gonna be like a yoga Pilates girl? I don't know which one, but I mean, you could do both.
We'll see you tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, surprise little strength competition that I don't know how I'm gonna do, but we'll see.
You'll probably do better than I will. I will. All right. Yeah. So good stuff. We're gonna end it here. Lace, I love you. I'll see you in a couple seconds. But take care, everybody. See everybody else on the other side. I love you, sweetie.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.